I've been trying to make this video for the last 2 hours, and for some reason I just can't get it right. And I have everything like scripted and set, and I don't know, I think my brain freezes. Anyways, welcome back to the channel. I'm Ernesto. I also go by Neno. I also go by Big Papa in the streets, but that depends on who you ask. And that's not a lot of people, so you will never hear anyone call me that in the streets. That is unfortunate, but it should be that way. Anyways, I'm making this video. I've been trying to make this video. I want to talk about kind of like the basics of film photography because I've had a lot of friends ask me about it. They've had questions about like, hey, like what should I buy? What should I do? You know, like what kind of film is there? And I'm sure there's other people who are like that. And I'm sure those people don't have an amazing friend like me who can guide them. So I thought, hey, let me make a video about that. Let me make a hopefully not so long video that kind of breaks down, film, breaks down kind of camera recommendations, and then kind of like, hey, here's some things you should do that could help you shoot film better. I'm no professional, just kind of right off the bat, I'm no professional. I've been shooting film for a year, but within that year, I've done my research. I've done, I've done the hours of videos on YouTube, watching it and just, getting down a rabbit hole, I guess you would say. But I do want to help out those who are just starting off, who want to get into it, whether you have photography experience or you don't have photography experience. Actually, kind of, I would say, try to get some photography experience because there are going to be things I'm going to say that you may not know. And maybe I should make an updated photography basics video. That's a lot of work. But anyways, this is for those who want to get into it. If you're already into film photography, you don't have to be here. You can stay here if you want. Comment down below. Sick video, dude. Love it. Illy. Keep doing what you're doing. You can do that. And if not, you can just, get out of here. I know this is not for you. This is for the people who want this kind of video because they have questions and I might have answers. Anyways, let's kind of get into it because I just need to get this video right for once. Just for once. Anyways, let's hop right into it. I actually just dread this part because I realized to talk about film is such a broad conversation to have because there are so many things that go into film. But I guess like the best way to kind of do this is really simplified version of this. And so the best way to start about this is that there are two types of film formats you will see a lot of, that you will see people talk about. If you go on social media like Instagram, you look up film photography, you may see these two types of film. The first one is very popular. It's everywhere. You can go on your Pinterest and look up film photography or film and it will pop up. And that is 35 millimeter film. This is what the canister looks like. This is what it looks like when you buy it. This is what it looks like when you develop it. It looks like this tiny little film strip. This is what it looks like. This is cut, by the way. This is, there's no individual slides in it. This is what was cut. It comes in a long roll. Anyways, that is the first type. That is a very popular one. What's cool about 35 millimeter film is that it is equivalent to a full frame camera that you would buy from Canon, Nikon, Sony, etc. But because of that, there's so many cameras on the market. So when you're in the conversation of buying a camera, buy a 35 millimeter film because one, like I said, there are many of them, but two, this is a very popular roll of film that most places could carry and should carry, in my opinion. Or not really my opinion, you get my point. Anyways, the second film format, I keep wanting to say file format. Film format is 120. This 120 is popular, but it's not like popular like 35 millimeter is, like I said, if you go on Pinterest and look up 35 millimeter film, you'll get something like this, but not this. But this is 120. The ratio to this varies because this belongs to medium format cameras, and medium format cameras are all different. They're not the same. And medium format cameras look like this sometimes. They're big, chunky, big boys. This is really a good portrait camera, but like I said, it's popular, but not so popular, if that makes sense. But this is a really cool film. They look like this after you develop them, which they look like these big strips, which is kind of cool. I like these. I don't know what these are flowers. So that's what it is. So when you are going to the shop and the guy is like, hey, what rolls of film you want? Based on your camera, those are the two, I guess you would say you would see the most of. There's a likelihood you are getting this. This is 35 millimeter film. keep that note. How to read 35 millimeter film. Of course, it's super simple. You have your manufacturer name, Ilford, then you have your style, HP5, and then right below is this number 400. That is your film speed. If you have any experience with cameras, your film speed is also known as your ISO. So in this case, this one's 400. You'll find it also right here on this top of this little tab here. If I can kind of focus, damn it. Let me see. There you go. It'll right there, ISO. And then that 36 is how many exposures you have on this roll of film. So 36, if loaded correctly. Sometimes if you don't do it correctly, or there's not really like, there is an incorrect way to load film, but like, you know, depending how much of rolls of film you like load into the empty side of the spool, sometimes you can get between 32 to 35. So it varies, but 36 is what you would get in one canister of film. So those are the two types of film formats you would see a lot of. And like I said, there's a likelihood you're only getting 35, unless you said, hey, let me just go balls to the wall and get a medium format camera like this. Then by all means, I applaud you, but I do recommend getting 35. Now you're saying, hey, Nano, what should I buy? Who should I buy? Is a really cool, important question. You could go for where the masses go, which is Kodak. They make two very popular rolls of film, Portra and Kodak Gold. Those are the ones you will see everyone talk about. And I would say those are the best films to start with. Ideally, Portra 400, that's ISO 400. And then Kodak Gold, I would say Kodak Gold 400 or 200 are great ways to start. Now, you're probably asking yourself, hey Ernesto, what's the difference between a medium format film, 120 versus a 35? They're both great films. I love them both. I have cameras for both rolls of film. 35 is, like I said, it's very popular. You can find it anywhere. They are the smaller slides. I looked this because of the smaller slides, there is not a lot of resolution here. There is a good enough, but not a lot. So you can't blow this up into a big picture. You might have to do some software magic. As for 120, there's more room, there's more space. So you can have more room for details, more room for information onto this roll of film. But in terms of economically, I would recommend 35 millimeter first, because 35 millimeter, for the price, you get more shots. So a 35 will give you 36 no matter what camera you're using. I'm gonna pause here because I just realized it also matters. If you get a half frame camera, you get double of 36. So just remember that. But anyways, if you're just rocking with a normal point shoot camera like this, or something like a Leica M6 or a Canon AE1, you get 36 shots for that. And like sometimes Kodak Gold is like $8, so that's cool. However, for 120, this varies based on what camera you're using. So with this one, I believe I can get up to 15 shots, but I have an RZ67, which is a bigger, clunkier camera, and I can only get up to 10. And there's some cameras that can only do up to 8. So when you get this roll of film, you'll notice it'll never tell you how many exposures, because it varies. So that's or that. It's also like your preference. Like if you want something, I think 120 is really great for portraits. Like they're I don't know why, they're just amazing for portraits, and I use it a lot for portraits, but they're also really good for landscapes. That's what I've also known. So I would say, since you're kind of starting off in this scenario, don't do medium formats yet. Go into your standard 35 millimeter. Easy as buys. And then, like I said, Kodak Gold or Portrait. Those are kind of like the two very popular standard bases of it. And then you can dive into Cinestill, lomography. There's this really cool black and white film. It's like Wolfman, something like that. They have like a series for Universal Studio monsters like Frankenstein, Dracula, and all that stuff. And it's really cool, very cinematic. There is a German company that makes very cinematic film as well. So, like I said, there's so many kinds of photographic style, but starting off with Gold and Portrait, get used to that, learn how it works. I do want to kind of talk about ISO real quick, because that's a very important conversation to have. So every roll of film will have a different ISO speed. If you know anything about ISO is just pretty much saying how sensitive this is to light. So in your camera, a digital camera, it's how sensitive your sensor is to light. For this, it's how sensitive your roll of film is to light. And most cameras, if you're doing something that's very manual and analog, they will have an ISO adjuster, not like this, but similar to this, where you have numbers number 6 to 6400, or sometimes it's different. And so before you load your roll of film in, you want to look, oh, hey, this says 400. Let me adjust this to 400, and I adjust this easily like that, so it's 400. Same thing for like a media format camera. I have my ISO adjuster here, so if I was using something that was 400 or 120, I would adjust this number to 400 or 120. Point and shoot cameras like this, they have a really cool metal, kind of, if I can open it. They have these metal brass pins, and it would read this black and silver kind of part right here, and then it would automatically do the ISO speed for you. So you don't have to worry about that. But that's film. That's just the generic conversation of film. And I hope this portion kind of clears something up. But like I said, if you're starting off, you're getting this roll of film. And if you're curious of what ISO to pick, if you pick anything greater than 200, you're shooting a very low light situation. If you're picking anything lower than 200, you're shooting a very bright day. I would say do 400 and 200 first, and then go into a higher film speed number if you're shooting, like I said, in dark situations. Now, in the conversation of cameras, it's so hard to have this conversation because there's so many cameras. There's so many things you can buy. Because you have SLRs, you have medium formats, you have rangefinders, and it's hard to say, hey, get this camera. If you're not used to film, if you're not used to digital photography, I would recommend a point and shoot like this, because this point and shoot does everything for you. It focuses for you, it changes the shutter speed, it already knows what ISO it is. If you're in a low light situation, it'll pop the flash and it will adjust the shutter speed for it. It will do everything for you. This is a Nikon One Touch. These things go for like $80. Then there's Canon Sure Shots. Then there's some from Olympus and Pentax. So keep an eye for these. These are really good. And they're also like I said, they do everything for you. Now, if you want something a little bit more analog where you do everything, this is when you dive into stuff like something, this is probably the worst example to use, but my Leica M6, it has a shutter dial right here. It has the aperture ring on my lens right here. And then obviously I would adjust the ISO based on the rolls of film I'm shooting. So this is more manual, because then I can focus through my lens, I can adjust the aperture through it, and I can adjust my shutter speed based on the shooting situation. So if you have some experience with photography, you understand shutter speed, you understand aperture, you would go in a more manual area. Cameras I would recommend are like the Canon AE1, Olympus OM1, and then there's a Nikon one that it went right over my head. I think it was like the F something, F1, maybe, question mark? But anyways, but like I said, it's just based on your skill level. There's no shame in using something like this that's very easy to use. I love this. I bought it for a reason, because I can just run and gun, not worry about it. And then this is more for when I have the time to slow down and actually be able to, take a breather. Those two cameras take this 35mm canister of film. Then I have this big boy here, which is the same concept. I have the power to adjust my aperture, my shutter speed, based on my lighting situation. And this one here is bigger and clunkier. I use this for portraits and landscapes. So, this is when when I'm more experienced and have the capabilities to slow down and take the shot. So that's the conversation I can have with cameras. I can't recommend a lot, because it just depends where you're going to buy them, has them. A good start is actually disposable cameras if you kind of just want to get in the feel of shooting film, because there is limitation, but like I said, it does everything for you. Then you can get into point shoots like this, and then you can get into more manual stuff. I feel like this video has so far not been too much, not too much information being thrown around. So I guess this is the part of the section where I tell you, hey, here's some tips and tricks to do to make you better. I think the first one is very, very important. So a lot of film cameras may have a working light meter, and some don't. Some don't even have a light meter. But however, I would recommend not trusting that light meter, because in time, it has some wear and tear and it might not meter correctly. So the one thing I would recommend you buying nice, and I'm telling you now, is getting a light meter. This is my Sekonic light meter. This one was only like $180 when I bought it. But it uses this little white ball here, and whatever light it hits, it will meter for you. So if I turn it on right now, it takes a while to turn on. All right, so if I set my ISO to 400, I also don't want to do a deep dive on how to use this, but anyways, you would set your ISO here, you would hold this button here, and then you would adjust the ISO. You see the ISO changing from 320 to 400. And then let's say, for example, you want to control the aperture. So I have the aperture set to, let's say I want to set it to an f2 or f2.8, let's say that. And so this number here, this 15 is your shutter speed. So once you click this button here, you click that. So it tells me to adjust my shutter speed to 1/30th of a second. So this is a really good tool to have because, like I said, sometimes the light meters in the camera cannot be trusted. Even on my M6, this is actually fairly new. There's a really good light meter built into this. I will still use this because sometimes if I need to meter for a dark part, like if there's this side is very bright, but let's say this part is shadowed, I want to meter for this shadow, and then I want to meter for this to find an in-between number. Anyways, so this is a really good tool to have. Like I said, I don't want to go like a deep conversation about this because, you know, it's very self-explanatory. You can also get apps on your phone. If I can actually show, one of the apps I use is called Light Meter, and it looks like this. It's gonna show so it kind of has the same concept where you put your ISO, you put the aperture you're using, and then it tells you your shutter speed based on how you do it and stuff like that. So kind of a tool I have if you don't have $180 to spend. You can download that app. There are also other free versions of it. Another thing I would recommend is when you load a film, and this is very, very basic. Let me see if I can open it. Don't open it when it's loaded. Only open it when you need to put a new roll of film in, close it, let it do its job, and then open it again when you need to take the finished roll out. Never open it when it's in between shots because that will expose the film and expose whatever is in the spool that's the shots you already taken, and you just ruin your entire film canister. So be cautious of that. Another thing is, film is very sensitive. So when you're traveling into airports, I would recommend doing hand checks. So TSA will let you give you that option. Be like, hey, can you check this manually? I don't want to go through the x-ray. Don't ever let them tell you the x-ray is safe because they are liars. They say, oh, if it's below ISO 800, you're okay. They are phonies because I've done it before and it was a lot of my stuff that was between 200 and 400 got messed up. So don't believe them. So have them hand check it. Be like, hey, can you hand check this? Put it on a little Ziploc bag so it's easy for them to look through and stuff. Because if you put it in a canister, they're gonna ask you to take it out of the canister and it's annoying. So put it in a Ziploc bag, be like, hand check please, and then they'll hand check it for you. That is my travel tip I would give you because having damaged rolls of film is horrible, is crazy, and it's annoying. Another last tip is film is expensive, so be cautious. Be cautious of what you're buying because you don't want to spend 14 to 20 bucks on rolls of film and then you mess out by doing what I told you not to do. So be very aware that hey, it is an expensive thing. It is expensive to develop and scan. I don't know how to develop, but I want to get there. I want to get that level of developing. But those are kind of the tips, the tricks. I know I said it's supposed to help you take better photos, but it really didn't. Actually, you know what? Here's a good tip. Be very accurate in your photos. Don't try to take so many things. Slow yourself down, breathe in, compose your shot, meter your setting, your wherever you're shooting at, and say okay, cool. It says I want to shoot at f4 and my ISO film speed is 800. And I want to shoot at f4, I meter, and it's gonna say shoot at 1/1000th of a second. Just your theme, focus, make sure everything's pinpoint, shoot. Enjoy it. You take your time in practicing. Unless you have one of these, then by all means have fun. Just do whatever you want. But practice makes perfect. you know, you're gonna go through rolls of film that are really horrible. I know I did. I know everyone else did. And then you're gonna have rolls of films that are just perfect, amazing. Like I said, I love film photography. I have a bunch of rolls of film that I need to develop because I did a bunch of work on them recently, just shooting around, just having fun. If you have any questions, you could by all means comment down below. I hope this video helps you. If it did, well, guess I'm sorry. I mean, I literally was been trying to make this video. This video could have been a whole 2 hours long because film itself, film photography is such a deep dive. I mean, I know some people were like, hey, you should make this into multiple parts, but that sounds like a lot. It sounds like a really hectic moment, and then I probably would lose track of what I was making. But anyways, like I said, hope this video helps. If you have any questions, definitely comment down below. Like and subscribe. And if you hate this video, you don't have to tell me. You can just move on with your life. Anyways, I have other stuff to edit as well, so I gotta edit this video too, so I can't really stay up that long. Oh, anyways, cool. I hope this helps. Definitely catch you around. I can't wait to shoot more because I'm talking about film makes me want to shoot. Anyways, cool. I will see you guys next time. See you later, haters.